Sam Altman's private messages to Elon Musk became public in a federal court this week. Every outlet ran the same angle. None of them connected it to the letter he wrote 5 days earlier. That letter went to a community in Canada called Tumbler Ridge, British Columbia, where 8 people had just been killed. He wrote, "I am deeply sorry that we did not alert law enforcement." OpenAI had known about the shooter for 8 months. If you are thinking about the OpenAI IPO this year, these are not two separate stories. On April 27, 2026, Elon Musk's lawsuit against OpenAI went on trial in Oakland, California. A jury of 9 was seated. Opening arguments begin April 29. I made a video about this trial a month ago. I said the court would force OpenAI's private documents into the open. That video is in the description. Watch it first if you have not seen it. The first documents are now public. They say more than the headlines did. In February 2023, Sam Altman sent a private message to Elon. Elon had been publicly attacking OpenAI. Sam Altman wrote to him directly. He wrote, "You are my hero. I don't think OpenAI would have happened without you. And it really hurts when you publicly attack OpenAI." Elon replied, "I hear you, and it is certainly not my intention to be hurtful, for which I apologize. But the fate of civilization is at stake." Those are their exact words. Both are in the court record now. Before I show you what that message sits next to, I need you to hold one thing. In June 2025, OpenAI's investigators read a user's account, not a machine, people. They read what she was writing. They banned the account. They did not call the police. Hold that, we will come back to it. Now, in the fall of 2017, Brockman kept a personal diary. Brockman is one of the OpenAI's core founders. He served as president. One diary entry from that period read, "This is the only chance we have to get out from Elon." A second entry, written around the same time, read, "It would be wrong to steal the non-profit from him to convert it for a for-profit without him. That would be pretty morally bankrupt, and he is really not an idiot." Both entries from the same diary, the same person, written in the same weeks. Not morally bankrupt, but also the only chance to get out. At the same time Brockman was writing those words in private, Sam Altman was writing to Elon, "I remain enthusiastic about the non-profit structure." Some of you are already forming the objection. These documents were put forward by Elon's legal team. That is a fair reaction. But these are not claims. They are primary sources. Brockman's diary, Altman's messages in writing. The court did not interpret them. It put them on the public record. The same person said different things to different audiences at the same time. That is the document, not the argument. On April 27, 2026, before the jury had finished being reseated, something else happened. OpenAI and Microsoft announced a restructured agreement. Microsoft was giving up its exclusive right to sell OpenAI's technology. To understand what that means, you need to know what Satya Nadella did in 2019. Nadella walked into a Microsoft board meeting with an idea. He wanted to invest $1 billion in a 4-year-old non-profit AI company that had never made a profit. Bill Gates told him directly, "You are going to burn this $1 billion." Nadella did it anyway. That $1 billion became $13 billion over 7 years. Microsoft tied its entire cloud strategy to OpenAI. Analysts calculated that OpenAI alone drove roughly 10% of Microsoft's cloud growth. Without Nadella's bet, OpenAI as it exists today probably does not exist. Imagine you are him. It is the morning of April 27, 2026. You know the trial is starting. You know you are on the witness list. You are going to have to testify about the company you believed in when almost no one else would. And on the same morning, you are reading a press release that says OpenAI can now sell its technology to Google, to Amazon, to any cloud provider on the planet. That exclusivity you held for 7 years, gone on day one of the trial. The market answered before the day was over. Microsoft fell 5% intraday. Alphabet gained 2.1%. Qualcomm gained 3% on a separate OpenAI chip partnership announced the same morning. The market read it plainly. The advantage Microsoft spent $13 billion building was now open to every competitor. There is one more detail inside that agreement that most coverage missed. Think of it like a business partnership with a built-in finish line. Two partners agree to split revenue and rights until one specific milestone is reached. Once the milestone is hit, the terms reset completely. In this deal, the milestone was artificial general intelligence, AI that platform performs at or above human level across all tasks. That finish line existed in the original Microsoft contract. Microsoft's rights and revenue arrangement would hold until OpenAI reached it. On April 27, 2026, they removed it. OpenAI can now declare that the milestone reached at any time. No special rights transfer to Microsoft when it does. Are you with me on what that means? Every AI company in the world has been racing toward a finish line that carried specific legal and financial consequences. That finish line just disappeared from one of the most important contracts in the industry. If this breakdown is useful, hit like and subscribe. I go 3 layers deep every week. The trial is producing more than the Ottoman Elon messages. There is an internal Microsoft email written in March 2018. Scott Guthrie, Microsoft's Chief Technology Officer, wrote to Satya Nadella directly. He wrote, "I wonder if the big OpenAI donors are aware of these plans. Ideologically, I cannot imagine that they funded an open effort to concentrate ML talent so that they could then go build a closed for-profit thing on its back." Read that again. Microsoft's own Chief Technology Officer was raising the same question that Elon Musk is now arguing in a federal court. That email was written in March 2018. 3 months later, Microsoft invested its first $1 billion in OpenAI. In his deposition, Nadella was shown that email and asked whether he raised those concerns directly with Sam Altman. His answer, "I think that the non-profit board of OpenAI gets to make the decision on what is the best way for them to realize their mission." He did not recall raising the concerns. The man who read that email, who had those doubts in writing, who heard his own technology chief question whether the owners even know what is being built. He invested $13 billion in the years that followed. And he is now a witness in the trial making all of this public. I want to hear from you on this. The Microsoft CTO raised this concern in writing in March 2018. Nadella invested $13 billion anyway. Does that read like a man who resolved his doubts or a man who chose to move past them? Tell me in the comments. Now, I told you to hold the number 8 months. In those same 8 months between when OpenAI flagged the shooter's account and when 8 people were killed, OpenAI raised $120 billion in new funding. It restructured its leadership team. It prepared an IPO roadshow. It launched new models. The 8 months were not a quiet period. They were the most active period in the company's history. And through all of it, the account set flag. Nobody called the police. I'm not telling you what to make of that. I'm showing you what the record says. The decision to say nothing was not made once. It held for 8 months while everything around it moved at full speed. I know some of you are thinking, what does this have to do with whether I should buy OpenAI shares? That is the right question. There is only one answer I have. You are not buying a product. You are buying a company. A company is the decision its leadership makes when no one is watching. This week, several of those decisions are on the public record for the first time. What you do with them is yours to decide, not mine. I told you to hold a date, April 23rd, 2026. The letter that had nothing to do with Elon. To understand it, you need to go back to February 10th, 2026. Tumbler Ridge is a small town in northeastern British Columbia, Canada. Population under 2,000. It has one secondary school. On the morning of February 10, an 18-year-old named Jessie Van Rutsela killed her mother and her 11-year-old brother at their home. She then walked into Tumbler Ridge Secondary School. She killed 6 people. She injured 27 others. 8 people dead in total. She killed herself. In June 2025, 8 months before that morning, OpenAI's automated tools flagged her ChatGPT account. That is not the part most people know. Human investigators at OpenAI reviewed the account, not an algorithm, people. They read what she was writing. It describes scenarios involving gun violence and mass casualties. They banned the account. They did not call the police. She opened a second account and continued. 8 months later, 8 people were dead. A lawsuit filed by one of the victims' families states that ChatGPT helped Van Rutsela plan the attack and that OpenAI employees had specifically warned about the account before she acted. OpenAI has not disputed the timeline. On April 23, 2026, Sam Altman wrote a letter to the community of Tumbler Ridge. British Columbia Premier David Abbey shared it publicly 2 days later. Sam Altman wrote, "I am deeply sorry that we did not alert law enforcement to the account that was banned in June." That is his exact sentence. Not, "we did not know." Not, "our systems failed." Not, "this was beyond what we could have prevented." We did not alert law enforcement. 8 months, humans investigators who saw the content, a second account that was not caught, 8 people dead, and a letter that says we did not alert law enforcement. That sentence does not describe a failure. It describes a choice. This is not a number in a financial founding. 8 people is 8 families in a town of fewer than 2,000 people. You do not need to be an OpenAI investor to understand the weight of that. When I read that letter, I did not think about the stock. I thought about what it means when an organization knows something, holds that knowledge for 8 months, and then describes the outcome in one passive sentence. We did not alert law enforcement. It tells you what did not happen. It does not tell you what decision produced that outcome. And I do not know how many other decisions look like the same from the outside. Last evening, April 27, 2026, Sam Altman posted on X, all lowercase 4 words, "We love our users." 3 things I'm watching from here. 1. Satya Nadella's testimony. He is scheduled for a half day on the stand. In his deposition, he said he did not recall raising his own CTO's March 2018 concerns with Sam Altman. Sworn courtroom testimony is a different setting from a deposition. 2. The revenue cap number. OpenAI and Microsoft announced that OpenAI's payments to Microsoft through 2030 now have a total cap. The specific figure is not public. When it surfaces, it tells you who actually won the restructuring. 3. The IPO filing. When OpenAI officially files, it will have to disclose the net revenue retention rate. That is the number that tells you whether the companies paying for OpenAI are spending more each year or quietly pulling back. Every major competitor discloses it. OpenAI never has. The filing is where that number finally appears. I covered why that number matters in the video linked in the description. At the start of this video, I said Sam Altman wrote 2 letters in the same week. One made every headline. Private messages to Elon, "You are my hero," now in the court record. The other did not. An apology to a town, "I am deeply sorry we did not alert law enforcement," also now on the public record. Both written by the same man, both public this week. Q4 2026 is when he asks you to decide what those letters mean for your money. When a company already knows something, makes a choice to stay quiet, and then asks you to trust it with your investment, what exactly are you being asked to trust? If this gave you something the coverage did not, hit like and subscribe. I go 3 layers deep every week.